Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, olúwa mi ò dìde ojó ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
That did not work out nearly as planned. Welcome to Theoryforge. It's kind of a we're talking about Ashes of Creation and New World. I don't really have a setup for that kind of a talk, so I've been trying to work on putting something together. I could restart the whole thing. I'm not going to worry about it when this goes up on YouTube. I can just edit it in. So, and we're already 10 minutes late anyway. So, welcome to Theoryforge. You can see we do not have our normal sort of branding. This isn't necessarily just an Ashes of Creation show. New World obviously has had their closed beta, and actually most of what we've talked about in Discord has been New World over the weekend. So it's kind of a hybrid conversation. Ashes of Creation had their dev stream digs right on Friday.
Yep.
So there's stuff to talk about there. They're obviously still in alpha as well. So this might spin off into a New World show. We'll see. I don't know that I want to get out Adobe and start working in a new video, but we'll see. So anyways, happy Sunday. Where do we want to start? I guess Ashes of Creation, New World, all of the above.
I have a couple of things to talk about with Ashes of Creation. One is that we came up with some trouble with DDoS this
again.
Weekend, yeah. So we've been down for a lot of the weekend. And I heard complaints from some on the forums the past several weeks that we're not getting a full 24/7 month to play for this month, Alpha 1. We have 3 days on or 4 days on, 3 days off, something like that per week scheduled. But I think that's great. You know, we went through Landmark and EverQuest Next, where they tried to have Landmark up 24/7 for months at a time, and they didn't have time to actually work on EverQuest Next. So I like the fact that these Daybreak devs seem to have learned a lesson. I would rather them err on playing it safe and have us test for several days per week and then work on whatever fixes or crunch whatever data they're going to crunch for several days, rather than keep this up for an entire month and keep trying to fix everything and staying, all the crunching that you do during that time and all that stuff. I just think this is a much better way to go. I think we're going to benefit in the long run, and this lets me know that they aren't going to burn out, one, and two, that they're going to have time to work on whatever data that they're gathering from our tests. I think it's a bad idea to have 24/7, especially when you're not prepared for it. So kudos to that. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, it's one of those things where I think the lack of, they still have listings for it that they need a cloud security engineer and an Unreal Network engineer. I don't know if they still need the security role. That was the other one, or if that was put somewhere else. But that's still indicative. Oh, and a network administrator. That was the other one. That indicates to me that they're still trying to do things the way that they can right now, and don't have the staff on hand yet to really handle all of those things in a big way. So I just hope that with the attacks that they've had, they've been able to find whatever solution allows them to keep working, whether they're permanent fixes or just installing some sort of third-party security plugin and having to configure the settings it's important to be able to kind of keep working through it. The public presentation part is kind of nice for being able to get data. Yes, being able to kind of get things worked out, find funky stuff, see how the fixes for things that you've tried to fix actually go through, and find anywhere that there's issues going through the build process, getting things pushed to live. If it's been a while between like the alpha and beta servers having a lot of changes before it finally pushes, merge errors are definitely a thing. They might have their own system they need to work out with that. So it's good that they're doing it this way. I think that a few days off is fine. I would almost say that I wouldn't be surprised if they revoked the no NDA between now and the next official test, because that would kind of be helpful to start ushering in the new content while it's still a little green, and not have people give a visual demonstration of some of the issues that they might be seeing or whatever. Probably still be able to talk about it, but we'll see. Yeah, that's about it.
One thing that I kind of don't like, is, and there were lots of people on the forums who were irked by the wipes that happened earlier. I kind of wish we had a wipe once a week. One of the reasons why I wish that is because some of the quests are still broken, and I'd like to have a chance to go back and do them. The draft is still broken over by Naala, and I would just like to be able to finish that quest. So I keep hoping that they'll do a wipe and fix those quests, and then I wouldn't mind starting over again. But
I mean, these all seem like normal process of testing. Are these players that don't know what alpha testing is? One, I mean, they've been doing kind of stretch run testing, or they've always done that, really. Well, I guess APOC was up for long periods of time, but for Ashes, I mean, they've never left it up 24/7, so I don't know why that would be a surprise. And I don't know where they ever promised they would. And character wipes, I mean, that's the part of, like, why would you not expect to be character wiped? If they want you testing late, end stage stuff, they'll get you a character that is that level to do that. They're not going to make you start all over, and have 2 days to get to level 50 so that you can do stuff they're testing. So I don't understand.
I get you. And it's one of those things also, I think, getting the data on how hardcore people go, just going from level 1 to 15 and then grinding out all the bosses to get all the resources to make all the highest quality gear. That is actually worthwhile data to have. So that's one reason not to wipe regularly. The other is the idea that somebody might actually be able to feel invested enough to play on longer, rather than if they only got to play a little bit 1 week and then it wipes, they come back. It's like, well, great, I don't want to spend the same amount of time just getting back to where I was at before. That sucks. And just sit out the rest of it. So it's, in my opinion, probably better that they haven't wiped so much. One of the wipes was just because one of the security attacks basically gave people
$2 billion.
Billions of gold, and then they had to wipe everybody's gold, and they didn't get everybody, and so they just decided, oh great, well, we're just going to wipe everybody here after we've dealt with the security problem. So that's kind of a funny way for things to have to go, but that's how it went. And if these DDoS attacks also had other attempts at breaching and changing data on servers, then there's a decent chance that there'll be a wipe come Thursday.
Yeah, and they're hoping to put that combat update in, so I'm expecting a wipe for that as well. But
I wouldn't be surprised. You're right. the thing where you don't have to move with the swings of your weapon anymore. You can move freely. That's definitely nice.
I like the way it looked. Phantom, I think, didn't get to see that combat update that they showed off.
Friday.
It's basically
No.
kind of going back to APOC, something similar to APOC freedom of movement um, for attacks. And I guess I'm thinking I hope they go somewhere in between APOC and what we currently have. Could maybe be fine, but Phantom, if you didn't hear, they're going to have a toggle so you can go back and forth between what they currently have and something that's closer to APOC, so that you'll be able to test it, feel the difference, and give feedback into what you like better. Which sounds like a good way to go.
I'm just not. Yeah, Ashes. I think part of it I'm just not super interested right now. Is they're testing stuff that I'm not super interested in. I'm not a
Gotcha.
PvPer. So I'm kind of waiting for the crafting and harvesting to come online for Alpha 2. So
yeah. So one more question for you guys about Ashes of Creation. Another thing that came up this weekend in the forums is someone was complaining that we don't have a roadmap. And a bunch of us were explaining, one of the things that's been learned is you give out dates and people are going to hold you to those dates as promises. And the response was, well, yeah, old people think that, but younger people have learned that you really should have a roadmap, and that's the best way to go. Um, I, I consider Stephen to be a younger person who learned that a roadmap is not the best way to go because people will hold you to the dates, and you're probably going to miss the dates in game design. And you're not as young as Stephen, but I'm old enough to think of you guys as younger guys too. Well, Stephen especially was a younger guy when he started. That he's what, like 36 now, and he was 32, 33 when we came on board. So I think what we've learned is that people get irate when you give them a schedule or give them dates, and the dates get delayed or pushed back in game design. Gamers get upset at that. What do you guys think about roadmap? And personally, I think the monthly dev streams give us enough information. I kind of like that.
they have a roadmap. They're currently in Alpha 1. They're going to go to Alpha 2. They'll eventually get to closed beta.
Yep.
To open beta. We've already seen what happens. They attach dates. They miss their dates. And then the next thing is, well, why are you missing your dates? You missed one date, you missed 2 dates, you missed 3 dates. Is there a problem? Do you not know what you're doing? So
that's the response. Yeah. So that's to have dates.
I guess for me, it's less about knowing what the roadmap is in terms of things that will be completed by certain dates, so much as just a general overview of what the order of things they're going to be focusing on and emphasizing is. So if there's up to a certain point when they're going to kind of put a freeze on certain parts of gameplay, then you'll know, okay, if I want to put in my feedback, I've got to jump in by like no later than beta 1 and, try it out and see if it's worthwhile or if it's something that kind of needs to be changed and give my feedback on it. So that's the sort of thing I could see, like just what features are going to be roughly intended to be completed for each one, and definitely be more reserved about it. Don't over predict everything. Just maybe list 1 or 2 things that are absolutely certain, and if there's anything else you manage to complete, put them up as a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, we know some things like what the devs hope to have in for Alpha 2 that's not in Alpha 1. They're hoping to have more of the races in, things like that. I think maybe I would wish that we would have a little bit more direction week by week for what we should be focusing on for testing. Um, but I mean, that can happen in alpha
No,
too as well.
they let us know.
They do. It's not that they don't let us know at all. That's why I said a little bit more. Um, but uh, um, but yeah. I mean, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, I would assume a lot of these people with these complaints probably have joined recently. I would think since they became sort of more public eye.
Mhm.
Because I'm betting if a lot of them, if you probably responded, well, we've actually been testing this game for 2 years now,
Yeah.
they would probably not believe you. 2 years, really? You've been
Yeah.
testing it for that long? Yeah, we've kind of seen what Intrepid has been able to do and what they've not been able to do. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say we probably do have a lot of new incoming people because certain big time streamer came through and brought a giant audience. So
Yeah.
I could definitely see the possibility of a whole lot of new faces and new interest.
Yes, there are.
well, we can come back to Ashes if we have some time. I know there's some question answer type things that seem kind of interesting, but New World's been the new boy on the block, a new kid on the block for me this weekend. You all have been testing it for a little while, but I finally jumped
New
in.
World's definitely a dude.
Yeah. Well, we can
I'm
get to
just
some of
gonna
that.
say it.
Well, I will start off with that. One thing that is driving me absolutely insane that I did not miss is sort of the Barons type chat that you get, especially when there's PvP players involved. I mean, chat is just constant. You fucking suck as a PvP player. Oh yeah, well you can't do this. I'm better than you. No, you're not. You need to go to some other game. PvP here sucks. So you both are wrong. It's just that's like constant chat, constant. And then occasionally someone asks a legitimate question that gets completely flooded away by all of the back and forth. And I mean, it's like even just like basically offensive chat. Like I was gone for the weekend, so I didn't do anything beyond Friday. Well, I was gonna quit anyways, just because they're gonna wipe. But I went in to fish and do a couple other things just to test it out. But they brought it. They were talking about Blizzard and sort of what's been going on with Blizzard, and it was all about sort of are these are the women just doing cancel culture? Did anything really happen, or is this just women trying to cancel culture the men? It's like, what in this is the chat that we're going to have to live with? Like, I think that's a very good suggestion, Mr. Squarepeg, is to disable chat because it is just full of nonsense. And it doesn't seem like there's, not that they need to do moderators or anything heavy-handed, but anyways, that's like the very first thing that just hits you right out of the bat. So, and my kids like to watch me play, but so I have on the language filter at least, so that it's all start up instead of the actual words. But
I normally ignore chat, so that has not affected me very much at all. I barely know what they say in text chat. I do want to talk about the fishing since you brought that up, so we need to roll back around to that. But one of the topics in Ash's forums is proximity chat, and I hate
No.
proximity chat.
no.
Because you don't hear people talking about the game in proximity chat. It's just at some point it pops in and you hear about what they're eating for dinner, or the money they're trying to save for their girlfriend's computer, or a whole bunch of crap that I don't know why I want to listen to that. They aren't aware that all of a sudden somebody near them is listening in on their chat. And it has nothing to do with the game. And the thing that we don't want for sure is them talking trash like you just were talking in proximity chat that you're just talking about in text chat. I'd much rather just have everything muted, and if I need to talk to people or I'd be with people in Discord.
And this is a game that got away from PvP, right? Because that's the other thing that they need PvP only servers. Like, where have you guys been? Do you pay any attention to games? Do you read about them before you pay to play them, test them? Like they did that, it didn't work. What do you mean they need PvP servers? It's just, this is a game that obviously has a good component of PvP, but also PvE. So now I'm also just thinking like Ashes, which is just. I mean, it's not hardcore PvP, but it's all PvP all the time, basically. And what the chat is just going to be like there. It's just, anyways, I'll stop before someone calls me a Care Bear or something else, but a snowflake. But that just like hits you if you pay attention, anyways. It's just like, what in the world are these people here talking about? But
I mean, if you guys want to play all PvP all the time, sure, go ahead, pick a server. Like, there's nothing stopping you from that.
So, anyways, fishing.
What's your experience with? Wait. Neuro hasn't weighed in on his experience with chat.
No, you guys pretty well covered it. It was a mild cesspool in forms before this, and this form it is a much larger cesspool.
I mean, there's like literally nothing valuable about watching general chat. Faction chat seems to be a little bit better. There's people actually asking for help for things or groups or defending towns. The faction chat actually seems fairly decent to pay attention to, but just the general chat is terrible.
Yeah.
But before we get into specifics, I guess we should sort of overview kind of like what are your, since we've all now played it, sort of thumbs up, thumbs down. Ooh. What do you think? Just in sort of broad strokes. I'll start. I haven't played much of anything since we play tested together on stream with Ashes of Creation, and really before that I hadn't for several weeks. And it's interesting because I when I did alpha testing, the same thing sort of happened. I jumped into New World and just kept going. Like it was a ton of fun for me. I think obviously I spent most of my time crafting and harvesting, and that those systems seem to work very well, which is probably what glues me. I was from the very starting quest line, before I made it to the actual town, like my bags were already full because I was just stopping and killing wolves or boars or whatever, skinning them, getting herbs. Really fits in to what I enjoy. So I'm actually very much looking forward to, I think it's the 31st. There's been some thought that it might be the 30th. I'm pretty sure the advertising says the 31st.
No, it's the 31st. I heard a couple of, few days ago, some people were saying a couple of days it's going to wipe and, launch. And some people were throwing out the 3rd. Is what I saw, and then I also saw corrections to the 31st. So
August 31st.
Yeah, it's the 31st.
So
August 31st.
So my thing, I enjoy it. I plan on spending quite a bit of time. Probably we'll see how far I go, but when they say there's endless crafting, I'm going to test that out. So.
Oh, cool. I'm going to dump resources on you then, because I've just been doing the harvesting and the processing side of things.
Someone else fun?
Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy the process of gathering, and somebody pointed out when I said that I like the I think it was on the Ashes Reddit that I really like the New World harvesting a lot better. You see a tree, you can cut it down. You see a boulder or a chunk of iron, you can go over and smash it up with a pick. You see a plant that's of any worth, you just go pick it with a simple tool. It's more skill based than quality of tool based. And somebody basically, their retort was that you have to harvest more to make the things in New World compared to finding more rare nodes in Ashes of Creation, and those being, a trade-off having much smaller recipe sizes. And honestly, I say no. That I think the better way of the two is to have fairly accessible resources, so it isn't a brawl just to get one damn tree somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and that you're getting large amounts of the stuff. You're seeing your processing skill go up as you get it. It just feels a lot nicer to have all the extra chances and intervals and progression and stuff that the New World system provides. That said, we'll see what Ashes actually looks like when they've actually got Ashes going. But
Well, I mean, the big difference too in Ashes, if it's smaller, harder to find nodes, I mean, you're going to have PvP occurring at those nodes. So me as someone who just wants to harvest and craft, that I'm not going to want to get into that mix. So, anyways.
Or do all the harvesting, then get ganked and lose half of it.
Yeah, I don't know that we quite lose half. We lose a portion, but I don't think it's half. But I think I want to wait until another show. I think I want to wait until we do a dedicated New World show before I really dive into details on what I don't like. But it's a love-hate experience for me right now. I feel the systemic racism heavily, but the gameplay itself I enjoy. And one of the things that I really like, I love the gathering. One of the things that I really like is the compass instead of the mini map. And I normally have been saying that you have to have a mini map, and that helps you orient in the game. Some people, can't see where they are just by a regular 2D map, and so the mini map helps. But I've been finding the compass awesome, and especially compared to the rudimentary mini map that we have in Ashes right now. Gaining experience and that dictating what you can see on your compass is a lot of fun. And then orienting on looking at your compass and saying, oh, there's a goat over there. Oh, there's iron over there. That's going to dictate to me where I'm going, and I can orient based on what looking at the compass. It's nice and clean. I love it.
I guess one other thing we should clarify for people who aren't familiar with the game is that as you level up in different harvesting skills, you get indicators of different sorts of resources that you're able to gather, or things that you'd been able to gather for a little while, perhaps. So it's like a 25-yard or 25-meter distance that they'll show up on your mini map when you get close. And the fun thing is, if you don't like just using the compass, you can press M and open your map while you're in auto run and keep moving forward while you're looking at how to get to whatever it is that you just saw on your mini map.
Yeah, and it's a nice way. I think some people in the forums have been complaining about in Ashes of Creation, the resources nodes have sparkles on them so that you can harvest them.
That's not going to be forever. They will be taking that out.
I was going to say we did get confirmation of that in Friday's dev stream, that it's just a placeholder for what they're going with right now because it's rudimentary for Alpha 1. But I think this compass is a really great solution to how to identify resources that you're looking for while still keeping the basic world very clean and not too distracting. I mean, that being said, also that little dot that they have on the resource nodes is good enough as well. You get close to it and then something appears where you can see that it's harvestable. That's really good enough and not in your face too much. And then what else? Yeah, so I love the gathering. I also love the achievements, and the way the achievements work, it's kind of wild because um, I feel like I'm always two things away from achieving something. Um, like I'll just randomly check achievements, or I'm turning something in or something, and it'll say, okay, you've got two more to go for this. Okay, this time you've got three more to, and I'm like, well, if I've only got three, I mean, I might as well go give the three. And that will just keep me going for like an hour or more. Just, oh, okay, well, if all I got to do is just this much more, great. It really makes me go. Now, fishing. I normally don't fish in games. Um, I started fishing recently because I've been playing WoW with someone who liked to go fishing, so I would go fishing kind of with them. Um, but the fishing in New World just had me going for hours. One, because I was trying to get whatever stuff I needed, and I guess that stuff is rare. It's in the quest. Like I'm trying to get snails, and I'm
Yeah,
not
I
getting
remember
any
that one.
snails. Um, but the mechanics of fishing in this are a lot of fun. Now in Ashes, I think what we heard on Friday, we got confirmation that the fishing there is going to have two different systems. One is going to be closer to gathering, I think, and one is going to be more probably like we have in New World right now. Um, could be more sports or fun or something activated versus gathering. I think the one for gathering will probably be less involved than the other style. But this one is kind of, I don't, and I hate fishing in real life because you got flies and heat, and I would go where there's humidity. My grandpa in Tennessee would take us, and I hated it. But the mechanics of fishing in New World is a lot of fun, and I've probably done more fishing in New World than I've done in any other game combined.
No, it
It
is.
is a fun system and rewarding. Pull
Yeah.
up just about anything.
Yeah. I mean, that often what I find is when people, any previous games, anyways, that have had sort of a mini game for crafting or whatever, mini games tend to get really kind of boring. That's essentially what this is, but it's been a lot. I mean, I think it's done very well, like you said, because it also adds reality somewhat. I mean, when you're fishing, you have the line tenses, you got to let go some, and so they're pulling from like actual fishing. And then when you start adding different types of lures or baits and what does what. Actually, today I put one of them in Discord back to back. Got two treasure chests in a row that had like platinum and a bunch of jewels. But it was all because I was actually just doing a quest and I had to run through water. And I thought, like, the fishing's done well enough that I actually paused to say, I wonder what I could get out of this water. And so I did. And like I got that and a boot and some fish sword or something stupid.
How long did you fish before you got those rewards?
Oh, no, those are the first two throws.
Oh, wow.
Initially, I thought, did I just figure out a bug, right? I thought, okay, am I standing in exactly the right spot with the exactly right bait and casting it in the right place in the water that this is like a treasure chest. But then, yeah, I didn't. It balanced out after that. I think I just got lucky on the odds. So
still, how long did you end up fishing?
I mean, I probably pulled 10 things out of the water before I moved on. So not long.
15 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, not long. I mean, because I didn't intend to. I was actually just.
I didn't intend to either, but I spent a couple hours straight fishing for stuff.
And
I was watching a TV show at the same time, or a couple of episodes of a TV show at the same time. But yeah, it was kind of cool to just.
No, it's done really well.
for a while.
I'm curious because actually I read about some of the fishing, and there's been some people that have cast 500 casts using different lures, and what actually seems more effective, and who knows if that actually applies to when they release the game. But The one thing I have not done is fish in salt water, so I'll have to do that at some point.
Yeah, it seemed like it wasn't too different for me.
There's
But
different things you can get. So, like the
supposedly,
snails, for example, I believe.
yeah, supposedly, but it seemed like I was getting the same stuff from both saltwater and freshwater. Tadpoles, piranha. But
I was curious why piranha were mixed in with all the other fish, but
right,
that's fine.
but
I'm a little disappointed you just have to break them down, the fish, that there's not some other use for them. But I mean, that's fine. You get the fish fillet and the oil. So, I mean,
I think there's a quest where you have to turn them in whole. There's a few of those, I believe.
yes.
Yeah, the town. Yeah, some of the town leveling stuff. I have one of them that's like 5 large salmon or something.
Or the fishing quest line, where you got all the fishing.
Let's talk about that, because that's a pain in the ass. Right?
Yeah, run all over the world into danger you're probably not ready for yet to get fishing clothes. But if you match those with a pole with some good attributes on it, and all the bait, high fishing skill, yeah, you're gonna be catching. Oh, and whatever food you can eat that gives you a fishing buff, you're gonna be fishing the hell out of the place.
Okay, I should try some of that stuff. I guess I haven't.
Yeah.
I tried some different bait, but I haven't tried the clothes, and I definitely have not tried fishing food.
Yeah. I believe there's a gathering food for fishing.
We'll say bread bait is the only thing that I got. That's what I was using with the treasure chest. I have not caught anything of value using any other type of bait. So,
And
interesting.
What does that do in terms of increasing your fishing capability? Does it give you more green and blue stuff, or does it?
I think it doesn't specifically say. I think it's supposed to do 2 things, if I understood what I read correctly. One is it is supposed to give you a better chance at better stuff. So maybe more rare, but also just the tier 2, tier 3. Also, from what I understand, is that it also should reduce the time before the first bite, right? So if you're in shallow water, it can take up to 13 seconds, 14 seconds to get a bite. It's my understanding, at least from what I read, and this could be wrong, is that the bait will also reduce that time to some degree. I don't know what it is, but.
So this has me thinking about. We kind of mentioned the town quests, which are the same. Well, I guess it's different than achievement. The town quests, I like them. They feel like dailies to me. And I see a lot of people in MMORPGs hating dailies.
These are hours.
Right? But I like, I don't know, it kind of has me engrossed.
Well,
how do you feel about
I think
that
what's very
They aren't permanent. They only last until all projects are completed. Then you can't take any quests. So the fact that it isn't just a grind for grind's sake, but is a way to do a little of this and that on the side, get experience, get some gold, build some rep, and that you're actually helping build towards a facility, that's really important. If there's something in particular that you want built up as quickly as possible, you just grind the hell out of those quests. Even if they're not the things you normally go for, once a place has been knocked over and taken over, and you got to build it back up, you want to focus on the things you want to focus on, and that's going to be the fastest way to get them built. It's the only way to get them built.
I'm someone who, initially when dailies were put into WoW, I mean, I enjoyed the newness of the idea of the concept. As that continued to be the thing, though, I hate the idea of logging in just to do a daily quest for 28 straight days so that I can then get an item at the end.
Yeah, that's a little different.
But in this, what I think is done very well here is that most of these things you're already going out to do them anyways, right? So, the crafting stuff, the harvesting stuff fits in perfectly for for me, because I mean, I'm going out to get that stuff anyways, right? So,
Right.
so this is just a way to, one, and help improve the town, but two, you get, I mean, once I started actually doing them, because I didn't do that. I really didn't do any of that in alpha. So I think it was in our Discord. I forget who it was. So you should do the town quest while you're out harvest. It might have been Polaris actually. Because it's a good, experience, and it really is. Like my levels, like when I went from 17 to 20, like super quick,
Yeah.
getting extra experience for doing stuff I was already doing. So
Yeah.
Same with the faction quests. You get a lot of good stuff for those.
Well, speaking of faction quests, I am not doing faction quests because that seems to flag you for PvP.
The lower three do, but the upper three don't.
yeah, my problem.
How do you get to the upper three without doing the lower three?
You bring up the menu, and it's 3 choices along the top and 3 choices along the bottom, and you only take the 3 along the top.
Okay. And what kind of quests are those?
They're like fetch quests or kill a certain number of thing quests, just your usual.
I'll make sure. Yep.
So my thing with faction quests that drove me nuts, that I think is actually pretty poorly done for something that's going to be released in a month. Now I can only speak from the first stage. There's how many different levels of faction do you get? There's 3 or 4, I think, right? You go to something to adept to something else as you gain faction experience or whatever they call it, rep. But from right away, like I was at the line where I could go into the adept part of the faction, the next stage, at like level 17, I think I was, just from doing quests to level up. Like but what I did not like is, at least at that stage, the quest you have to then do a quest to move on to the next, to prove that you can be an adept. It's actually similar to like EverQuest 2 with some of their character development. You had to, you reached a level and then you had to do a quest to prove that you could go on to the next, whatever class you wanted to be anyways. But the quest, I had gotten to that point by level 17, which actually might have been slow compared to other people. But the quest was a level 25 quest. So like I'm stuck where...
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, because then anything I do at that point, the faction that I gain is just lost. It doesn't go anywhere. So I have to instead sort of grind out the 8 levels, or get someone to just power me along into the area to complete it. And that seemed very unbalanced. Like that seemed just counterproductive, because then also what happens is you get tokens, and you can only buy so many things. I mean, at this point, I have all of the armor that I need, the weapons that I need, but I'm still not yet high enough to do this quest. So it's like lost. It gives me no incentive to continue doing things for the faction itself. Instead, it tells me to stop and just go do other things until I can come back. Now, it looks like the grind from adept to whatever, I forget what the next one is much much longer. So that it might be better at that stage. But the early one just seems way off. So. And I think there's a debate on why we even have factions. I think that's something that's been talked about, that there's not a lot of explanation into other than just having 3 groups of people to fight each other.
It made sense when it was a hardcore PvP-centric game, and they just wanted people to be fighting each other all the time. But I think they aren't doing enough. Like I was hoping it would send you on different kinds of quests, and you'd be perhaps making different kinds of tech, maybe different kinds of weapons, or give you bonuses for different kinds of weapons, or different kind of stuff. And they just weren't able to get there, I think, because that wasn't the original scope of the game. One place I'm going to bring it up, we don't have to jump into it, but it reminds me of our early debates. Is this an RPG? And I don't think it's an RPG. I feel it's a survival game that's trying to now appeal to RPG players. So they've added stuff, like we have quests, which they probably weren't expecting to have so much of before. But it still feels very much like a survival game. Some people in the Ashes forums were asking, like, how could they be doing this and not releasing mounts yet? Or how could you be doing this and not have X in there? And it's like, well, because they weren't planning for this to be an RPG. And now they're trying to get it there, but they're having to release before it really becomes an MMORPG. They are not marketing it as an MMORPG. Um, but you can really feel the survival game roots. It feels like Valheim to me, with that's massively multiplayer, is kind of what it feels like to me. How about you guys?
I don't think it's a very survival specific sort of game because there's no elements of survival other than don't get killed and don't get killed by other players.
No, it's not anymore. What I'm saying is you can see where you can see that it started as that just by the systems, even the way the crafting is set up.
Yeah,
It's set up because it was a survival game first, and the way that works is survival game-ish versus RPG-ish.
a bit. I think it's partially they might not necessarily have known what they wanted to make to begin with, and it was kind of taking its own form and shaping over time just because they, weren't exactly sure. It might have been a really good pitch to get the funding and get it started, but it was just a pitch. And it didn't have all of the substance and all of the nuance and everything. So I would say at this point, it is an RPG, just the very basic. You are the hero, so is everyone else now. Go out there and kill the same stuff so that everybody, survives. And then, oh yeah, I guess kill each other because you're dicks. Because 3 people told you to believe in different things and you believed one of them. You were forced by the story to pick one of them. And that's the part I think I like the least, is that the faction selection is an absolutely mandatory sort of thing. I don't really want to be a part of any of them.
Right. But I think that it's also one of the reasons why we don't have more variety in cultures and actual races, and more variety in animals, monsters, and mobs, is again because it wasn't intended to be an RPG, and they're trying to turn it into that, but I don't have time to flesh it out as they would have if it had started as an RPG. And again, I think you can feel that in the gameplay. It started off as something else, and they're trying to turn it into, an MMORPG, but it's not quite there yet. Release time.
I wonder if they'll add a swimming animation before release. It seems super weird to have so much water content and be releasing a game where you just sink. And I did not know that to start with. I found out by being on a bridge that was over the middle of the water and thought, I'm going to jump in. And I jumped in. And I went down to the bottom and started walking. And I thought, what the is this?
Yeah.
Yep. Planet side style. Mm-hmm.
So
the underwater walk of shame. Good luck.
So Dev already said water is working as intended. I don't know
what that could possibly mean either. And I did not try to see if I could jump out of water. So in Ashes, the Ashes is kind of the opposite. I just basically jump in Ashes, and I'm basically flying right over top of the water as I'm swimming in Ashes, which is a little weird.
Well, because they don't have the buoyancy fully worked out. They have whether or not you're submerged in water or not working, but they don't actually have tracking to buoyancy working. So you just kind of float along a median line while the water is sloshing around.
Yeah, and it's Alpha 1, so that makes sense. But it's weird to in water and not able to swim at all. And then again, expect to have some kind of mechanics to get up to the top, and all of
Yeah.
that. Wow, and I think EQ might have it too. Is you get out to a certain part, and if they don't want you to go all the way across, then
You drown.
you will drown. But
And damn boats. EverQuest initially they had boats. That's how you largely got from place to place.
Yeah.
And they didn't always work very well, and you'd fall
Oh,
off the
no.
boat.
Yeah.
You'd fall off the boat right before the animation started, and then you're
Right.
dead.
See if you can swim or not. You're a witch, and I guess we're all undead, maybe. So,
How can we rend a zombie? That's the other thing. It's actually great that that's the only stuff that I'm like, why is this happening? Like, I mean, it's a pretty well done game if that's what I'm complaining about, but they don't have blood to let, so I don't know.
right. So you're saying that we are capable of it, but it doesn't make sense that we can.
Rending them?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Were you able to? You were able to put a rend on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you shouldn't be able to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
One would think.
I don't know, there's just some kind of funny business with some of that stuff, I suppose.
I mean, really though, there's not. I mean, I've played pretty heavily for 3 days total, and got to level 21, and a lot of the harvesting, some were edging near 100, crafting somewhere 50 to 80 or 90. And I mean, there's just not a lot of big things that I sat back and not Dev created anyways. The chat's the biggest, but that's not their fault. The swimming, I guess, would be the biggest thing that sticks out. But other than that, like the only two other things that I notice that drive me nuts that I just notice as I'm playing, one are stairs. If I'm running downstairs, often I don't know if it's just I'm not sure how it's programmed out, but I don't know if you notice this, but like I fall like
Sometimes,
and then fall like I'm not sure why it does that, but that seems odd. And then the other is running around some of the mountains. If you get near a rock or a small, like a tiny little flint, and your character gets stuck, instead of just like easily stepping over it, that kind of, especially when you have sort of somewhat like parkour type moves. But
If you're using auto run, it will always try to use maneuvers to get over and around stuff. It also is the best way to climb if you're trying to climb up, a large cliff face or something, because the auto run will always attempt to do the grab and climb.
But I mean, really from design or whatever, that's the only stuff that, to me anyways, have stuck out so far. Now, I've only got to level 21, so there's a lot that I've not done nor explored, but...
Well, and you talk about that's like your overall level, but then I imagine you also start thinking about your crafting levels and what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to try? How far do you want to take those? Sometimes it's even just I want to start harvesting a level 50 thing or a level 100 thing. So I'm going to go ahead and spend some time literally farming. And that's just as rewarding, not just my overall level, but sometimes I'm just like, hey, I just want to top off and get to level 40 in this or level 50 in that, in terms of crafting or
to get to the next thing. That has also, I guess, been somewhat of a complaint. I might just be misremembering this, but I feel like in alpha, there's provision crates and supply crates. The provisions one has the crafting or the cooking components, which you need salt and you need all these different things. I swear I feel like in alpha they were much more plentiful. Like if you went out to a farmstead to kill zombies, usually you would come back after a trip with a lot of cooking materials. And now it seems like they've nerfed not supply crates. There's supply crates everywhere. But the ones specific to cooking seem to be drastically like reduced in number. I think it's Monarch Bluffs. There's like a central. I think it is the Monarch. There's like there's a New World map that actually maps out where all these things are, and like the entire center of this map, there's like no like provision crates like
Oh,
at
that
all.
sucks.
It's just that drives me a little crazy, but
Where'd you find the New World map that does that? I haven't looked for it.
that's been existent for beta and alpha, I think, too. Here, actually, I'll just link it in chat. And that's I guess that would be another semi-complaint, is that a lot of these things are static rather than moving around the map. That you can just sort of find, they'll always be there. It's just a matter of whether someone else has gotten to it before you. That would be my only other complaint, is whether there could be some sort of randomness to the spawning of different things. But you obviously probably couldn't do that very well with trees, but
Well, trees are pretty plentiful.
Yeah.
If you're in the area where the tree exists, you can probably find a bunch of them.
if you open that map up, it's going to have everything checked, and it's going to look like a mess.
It does
And
look like
so
this.
if you go to filters, you can just choose hide all and then start selecting out what you want. But that was actually very helpful for finding some
Yes.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking for iron today, and I know where to find it.
Oh, the magnetite let him pick.
Starting area. No, just because anyway, I'm kind of ready to start trying to make a better spear. I might not even need iron for that, but and I know where, like, what is in the, I forget the name of the starting area. The
There's
very,
a
very
few of
starting
them.
area. Yeah, down towards the bottom. Fairlight, whatever it is.
First light? First light.
Yeah. So I think I know where the iron is near there, but now I'm in, what is it, West Wind? And didn't know where it was. I finally found it, but it took me a while to figure that out.
My experience has been, initially I was worried that I wouldn't, I'm not going to be able to get iron. There's not very much of it. People are, beat me to it. The more I sort of explored everywhere, iron is actually pretty plentiful, where more times than not, I have to sort of not harvest it because otherwise I'll overweight, be overburdened. But
Yeah.
But that map will
it's
help.
really
But as
good.
you're exploring,
Yeah.
you'll see there's actually quite a lot of iron around.
Yeah, and then trying to remember, sometimes I'll, like, sheep. It took me a while to figure out where I would find sheep, and then I found the sheep, but I went back to town and then doing a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, oh crap, where were those sheep? Like, I've been to like 4 different places already, and I don't remember where I saw the sheep. So some of that, it's going to be great once, I've been playing for weeks and months. And again, it is kind of cool that with this game, I guess this is another thing that is great about both Ashes and New World, is that the draw distance is far enough that you can really use landmarks to get around. We also don't have to worry about invisible barriers like we used to in EQ2 especially. And WoW has that just a little bit, kind of not, or even really natural barriers. Pretty much if you can see it, you can get to it. And that's really helpful in these games.
The only thing else I would sort of mention is fast travel. Like, I don't know how you guys feel about that. Actually, if you have to have fast travel, I feel like they've done it fairly well, in that it's restricted. So you have to be in a certain area to use it, and it costs a certain amount of resource to do it. And at the same time, it's not like overpowering. I mean, if your faction owns the where you're at, it's a reduced cost, and it's interesting how they put the weight component to it as well, so that it's not just easy. It's also not just an easy way to transfer your all of your items everywhere. So I feel like they've done if you're going to add fast travel into a game, they seem to an MMO anyways, they seem to have done a fairly decent job in my mind.
Yeah, it's a somewhat restrictive material. You can get a lot of it, but you can burn a lot of it real fast too.
Restricted. Go ahead.
I do like that it's something that you can, just set a campsite and set, whatever town that you maybe have all your resources at or plan to use regularly. And you can go whatever and do whatever else. You can, if you die, you can respawn at the nearest town. But ultimately, between your campsite and where you have your inn at or whatever, you can just fast travel to those a lot easier. In fact, the inn you can fast travel back to once per hour. So it's definitely helpful to kind of make the best of that system. Also, apparently, the ability to teleport to the shrines, that saves a hell of a run getting to the Mad Hermit guy the very first time.
He didn't talk to me, so I don't know if I waited too long to get to him or not.
Oh, no, he should always talk to you. There might be something else you need to do first.
Clearly, but
Are you up to level 12?
I'm way past level 12. Yeah.
Oh, then yeah, he should be talking to you.
Sprint. So it's restricted. Fast travel is restricted enough that I don't use it. Yeah, they're saying it's something unfinished, but all it said was to do quests from the town quests or something, which I've done a whole bunch of. But sprinting. One of the difference or phenomena of going back and forth between Ashes and New World is that in New World I want to sprint like I can.
You're already sprinting.
No, I'm jogging. So yeah, I would like to sprint in. There are lots of times in New World where I really want to sprint. And again, I think that's another difference between survival game and RPG is that PvP centric survival game versus RPG is that they don't want you to move fast through the world because you're supposed to be getting into battles quickly, frequently. I think, again, that's why we don't have such a large diversity of monsters and mobs and all that, is because the expectation was that we would be fighting each other a lot more, so you wouldn't need that. But yeah, I mean, I other than the fact that I would like to represent my culture, African culture, rather than being stuck in colonial culture. The gameplay's really, really, really good and feels very smooth. The progression is very smooth. It doesn't feel like a grind. It feels like there's always something to do, which is great. I mean, I think that's the feeling that we've always wanted in an MMORPG, is that you can just go out and do stuff, as even crafting, right?
Well, we are at the end of our time for today. So, any parting words about, I guess, either Ashes of Creation or New World?
Well, it's still kind of an early stage for Ashes, and New World post-release, I would imagine, is going to have a lot of changes. So it'll be interesting to see how things turn out with both of them as time goes forward here.
Yeah. Well, all right. Like I said, if we all keep into this, we'll probably maybe look at doing a New World show every so often as well. So, and actually, to your mention earlier that Ashes of Creation maybe should pull back, or maybe they will with the NDA. This is probably the perfect time to do that, is when nobody's paying attention because they're all playing New World. So, anyway, everyone have a wonderful week, and we will be back here next Sunday, same time, same place.
Yeah.
See ya.
See you then.